Hello guys, in this video we will talk about what is an application load balancer and how we can use it to route traffic to multiple EC2 instances in different availability zones. So let's get started. So first of all guys, let me walk you through some of the necessary theory to understand what is an application load balancer. So let's first talk about guys what is a load balancer. So a load balancer is a server that forwards traffic to multiple servers, for example EC2 instances. Okay, that's pretty simple. Now what is an elastic load balancer? So an elastic load balancer is a managed load balancer. Now what do we mean by managed here guys? It means that AWS guarantees that it will be working. AWS takes care of upgrades, maintenance and high availability. And elastic load balancing supports the following load balancers guys: application load balancers, network load balancers, gateway and classic load balancers. But in this video guys we will only talk about the application load balancers. So what is an application load balancer? So an application load balancer is used to route incoming application traffic across multiple targets such as EC2 instances in multiple availability zones, on-premises servers, and Lambda functions. It supports only HTTP and HTTPS protocols. Now, very important thing associated to application load balancer is target group. So what is a target group? A target group tells a load balancer where to direct traffic to. For example, to EC2 instances, private IP addresses, AWS Lambda functions. Now guys, private IP addresses could be both your on-premises servers or your private EC2 instances, AWS Lambda functions, or an application load balancer. So now let's go to the console guys and create a target group. Remember guys, you first need to create a target group before creating an application load balancer. So let's click on create target group. So here you can see guys, what I just told you is that we can use the target group to send basically we use the application load balancer to send traffic to either EC2 instances or public or IP addresses, which could be the private IP address of an EC2 instance or your on-premises server IP address, a Lambda function, or an application load balancer. But this is very important guys, you cannot use an application load balancer to send traffic to another application load balancer. Okay, you can only use a network load balancer to send traffic to an application load balancer. Okay, so in this video we are basically in this tutorial we are using it to we are using the application load balancer to send traffic to EC2 instances. So I will select the first option guys, and down here I would name the target group as demo group. And in the protocol guys, as I told you earlier, that application load balancer only supports HTTP and HTTPS. So in this video, as we do not have an SSL certificate, so we will use HTTP. In the VPC guys, we will actually select the VPC in which we would like to deploy our application load balancer. So I would select this one. This is a default one. So in the protocol version guys, you must select HTTP1. Okay, HTTP2 is not supported, and HGRGPC basically this is used to send requests to gRPC, which is out of the scope of this video. So now let's move on to health checks guys. So this is very important guys. What are the health checks? So the application load balancer periodically sends requests to its registered targets, which means the EC2 instances or whatever we just discussed, to test their status. These tests are called health checks. Basically guys, our application load balancer send a request to our instances in the target groups to see if they are working actually fine or if there is an error on them. So each load balancer routes traffic to only the healthy targets guys, and after your target is registered, it must pass one health check to be considered healthy. And if a target group contains only unhealthy registered targets, so basically guys, in a let's say we have a target group which contains 4 EC2 instances and all of these 4 are considered unhealthy, then the load balancer routes requests to all those targets regardless of their health status. This is very important, guys. This question is often asked in the interviews and comes in the AWS Solutions Architect Associate exam as well. So make sure to you remember this one, guys. Okay. So if you are still confused about these health checks, don't worry, guys. You would have a much clear understanding of it now. So in the health check path, guys, it is asking us to enter a path. So I would type as slash. Now what is this slash? So let me just show you. If I just go to one of my servers, so you can see I have two servers running, and if I just copy the IP address of one of my servers and just put a slash at the end. So what does this basically means? That I am trying to access the root of my server by putting a slash. Okay, and when I do so, I get a response from a server that this is a demo server. And guys, if I just let me refresh it again. So in the network tab, you can see, guys, that I get the status as 200. Now you must be thinking, what is this 200, guys? So basically, guys, when our browser sends a request to the server, hey, that I want to get something from you, then our server responds with the different status codes, and each status code means something. So if I just go here, you can see what is this HTTP response status codes. So HTTP response status codes indicate whether a specific HTTP request has been successfully completed. So they have, guys, 5 classes, and the most important ones are these two: successful responses, which are between 200 to 299, which basically tells the browser, hey, your request has been successfully completed, or the redirection messages, which basically tells the browser, hey, the server has redirected you somewhere else. So a basic example of this would be, guys, let's talk about that someone visits your website using www.muhyiddin.com. So on your server, you have a rule that if someone types www.muhyiddin.com, you must redirect him to the muhyiddin.com. So in that case, instead of getting this 200 response, guys, you will get 301. So basically this is the response you will get, guys, the redirection message. Okay, guys, so now in our, let's go back to the target groups, and in the advanced health check settings. So I hope, guys, you now know about the HTTP status codes and what does this slash mean. Okay, so in the port, you will select the traffic port. So what is this? Basically the port that the load balancer uses when performing health checks on the targets. So our EC2 instances do not have SSL, guys, so we will use the port 80. So I would keep it as it is. So what is healthy threshold, guys? So basically the number of consecutive health checks successes required before considering an unhealthy target healthy. So basically what happens is this, guys, that our load balancer sends a request to our EC2 instance, and it responds with a status code which we would define here, guys. So for example, it responds with the status code 200. So our load balancer will say, okay, so the first time I sent the request, I got the response 200, which is exactly what I wanted. Now let me send the request again, and it would do the same process for 5 times. And if for the consecutively 5 times it got the response 200, which we defined here, then it would mean that our targets are all are healthy, and we can use our load balancer can route the traffic to these instances. Okay, guys, so here I would keep it to 2, guys. And similarly for the unhealthy threshold, guys, let's say our load balancer sent a request to the server and it did not respond with the status code like 200. So instead of immediately considering it unhealthy, it would again send the request, and if again it did not get the success code 200, then it would just mean that our target is unhealthy and it would no longer send traffic to that target, guys. Okay, so the timeout is similar, guys. For example, our load balancer sent a request to our EC2 instance, and our EC2 instance did not respond within 5 seconds, then it would mean that it is not healthy, guys. So the health check would fail. Okay. And what is the interval, guys? Interval basically means that for example, the load balancer sent a request to our EC2 instance. It got the response it wanted. Okay. Now the next request will be sent after 30 seconds. Okay. And this time could be anywhere between 500 to 300, guys. Okay. So in the success codes, guys, so as you know that on this server, I have simply an Apache running on this server, and in the Apache, I have an index.html file which says nothing except that this is a demo server. So I did not have any redirection or anything else placed on the server. So in my case, I will get the response as 200. I know about that. So in the success codes, I would type it 200, or I can put in a range here, guys. Okay, so the range could be maximum from 200 to 499. Okay, you cannot type like 500. Okay, so that would result in an error. So in my case, I would type 200 to 299 because I am sure that if my server responds between any of these success codes, it means that my EC2 instance is successfully running and it is there is no error, guys. Okay, now click on next. And here I will select the targets to register. So basically, let's say you have 10 servers running, and in this for this application load balancer, you only want 2 of the EC2 instances to connect to them. You can even have one EC2 instance connected with your load balancer, guys. Okay, so I want both of them to be connected to the load balancer, so I will select these. Now what is this, guys? So it is again asking us for the port. Which port is this, guys? So the port for routing traffic to the selected instances. So guys, we do not have SSL on our server, so we want the traffic to route to the HTTP protocol, which is on the port 80, guys. So I would keep it as 80 and include as pending below. Now review targets, yes. Create target group. Okay, guys, our target group has been successfully created. So now let's create our load balancer. Click on create load balancer, application load balancer, create load balancer. Name would be demo load balancer, demo ALB. Let's keep it as demo ALB. The schema should be internet facing. Okay, guys, because our load balancer must be public so that our website visitors can access it. Okay, the IP address type should be IPv4, and you can select dual stack if you have both IPv4 and IPv6 addresses, but I don't have, so I will select IPv4, which would be the case most of the time. In the network mapping, guys, it is asking me in which VPC I want to deploy my application load balancer. So I will select this first one, which is the default, and here it wants me to select the availability zones in which my EC2 instances are running. So I will select just all of them. Now my EC2 instances are obviously not running in all of the availability zones, but it's still okay to select all of them because in the future maybe I would be running my EC2 instances in some other availability zones, and then I can easily and at that time I won't have to edit this setting, guys. Okay, so in the security group, guys, this is basically the security group of our load balancer. So our load balancer should be accessible by the public, guys. So here in the security group, you should keep the protocol HTTP or HTTPS, or maybe both if your server has HTTPS running, to be accessible by the public. So I have already created a security group called temp, which basically allows all type of traffic to the load balancer. But in a real world scenario, you should only allow the necessary traffic to your load balancer. Okay. So listeners and routing. So what is this, guys? So it says that on which protocol our load balancer should receive the traffic. So basically, if our website is running HTTP, I would select here HTTP. If it's HTTPS, then I would select HTTPS. But for now, I don't have an SSL certificate, so I will select HTTP and the port of HTTP is always port 80. Select a target group. Yes, this is a target group. And now just let's click on create load balancer. Okay guys, our load balancer has been successfully created. So it is in now provisioning state. So let's wait for a couple of seconds to for our load balancer to be in the active state, and I will get back to you after that. Okay guys, our application load balancer is in active state now. So here you can see the DNS name. So basically this is what our load balancer exposes. So now let me just copy it and let's just open it. So here you can see guys, it forwarded the traffic to one of my server. Now let me just refresh this again. Okay, this time you see guys, I got the response from my another server which says hello world from server 2. So this is the whole power of application load balancer guys. This is how you can use the application load balancer to forward traffic to one or more EC2 instances using just one single DNS name guys. Now one last thing guys, now let's connect our domain with this application load balancer. So for that guys, as my domain DNS records are being managed by the route 53, so I would go there. And no matter guys where your DNS records are being managed, if you're using GoDaddy, Namecheap, Bluehost, WP Engine, Kinsta, whatever, the procedure would be absolutely same. So in the hosted zone, so basically what you would have to do is simply that for your domain name you would have to create an A record guys. So in my case I am creating an A record, and where this record should point to guys, the record should point to this DNS name. So in the value I would just type this, and in the TTL I would keep it as low. Now create records. uh, Okay, sorry guys. So as this is AWS, so AWS does not support entering a value as an uh, in the record, a record. So in AWS, what I would have to do is I would have to select alias, choose endpoint, application, and classic load balancer. My load balancer is in the North Virginia region, and here is my load balancer, guys. I have successfully selected that. So now if I click on create records, so you can see guys, now the record is being created. Let's click on view status. So let's just wait for a couple of seconds guys for it to be in effect. Okay guys, so the record has been successfully created. Now let's see if it is working or not. So let me just open Vayuddin.com. So you can see guys, our domain has been successfully attached to our load balancer. And again you can see guys, the load balancer is successfully working because we are getting response from both of our servers. So guys, this is how we actually host our websites on multiple EC2 instances and then use the load balancer to route traffic to all of the EC2 instances. Okay guys, now one more thing guys. So as I told you earlier, that if a target group contains only unhealthy registered targets, the load balancer routes request to all those targets regardless of their health status. So now let me actually demonstrate that guys. So here if I go to the target group, you can see guys, it says healthy. So both of my instances are appearing as healthy. So now let me just edit the health checks and make both of my instances unhealthy. Okay, so how I would do that is that I would just select this, go here and edit health check settings, and here I would now just tell him to get the response code, success code from server should be like 301. Okay, so and for the quickness I would select here 5 and save changes. uh, okay. Okay guys, so now let's just wait for a few seconds and you will see that both of these targets will be in the unhealthy state. And even after that our website will be successfully working guys. Okay guys, so here you can see both of our instances have been declared unhealthy, and if I just go here you can see that both of our EC2 instances failed the health checks, and it says health check failed with these codes because our server responded with the code 200, but in the success codes I defined the health that the success code should be 301, so both of them didn't match, so the target groups have been declared unhealthy. But guys, you see that our target group has two EC2 instances and both of them have been declared unhealthy. So now guys, take a guess what should happen. Should the load balancer route traffic to our EC2 instances or not? So let's find out. So now let me just again open my website muhayyuddin.com and let's see if the website opens or not. So you can see guys, the website successfully opened, and if I just refresh it, you can see guys, I am getting a response from both of my servers. So that's what I wanted to teach you guys, that if all the targets are unhealthy in the target group, then the load balancer will route traffic to all of these targets regardless of their health status. Now one more thing guys, what should happen if one of the targets just become unhealthy? So you will see that if that would happen, the load balancer will simply not route traffic to that target and the other target will work successfully. So to show you that, let me now just again edit the health checks, and in the health check settings, let me just say the success code should be 200 to 299, save changes, and it will just take a few seconds, and after that you will see guys that both of these targets would be in the healthy state guys. Okay guys, our instances are again in the healthy state now let me just make one of the instance unhealthy and show you what happens. So let me just go to my EC2 instance console. Okay, so here I am, and let me just shut down my Red Hat server guys. Okay, so let me just stop this instance, click on stop. Okay guys, now after few seconds you will see that the health status of this server, the Red Hat, will become unhealthy. Okay guys, so you can see the status has been changed to unhealthy and the details are request timeout. So now guys, if I open muhayyuddin.com, so you can see guys, now I am only getting response from my server 2. Let me refresh it many times. Okay. So you can see guys, each time I am getting a response only from my one server. Why? Because the health checks failed for that server guys. So this is the whole power of the health checks and the application load balancer guys. There are many more things about the application load balancer which I will cover in the next coming videos. So make sure guys you like this video, comment if you have any questions, and subscribe to the channel because that really motivates me to produce amazing content for you guys. So till then guys, goodbye.